In the middle school years, your students are ready to take on the responsibility of reading their school books for themselves. And it's important that those books are well written in order to encourage full attention, and that they offer worthy ideas to feed your students' minds. Today, I want to share with you 9 books that match both of those criteria. Our favorite picks for middle school students studying the Middle Ages. Welcome to the Simply Charlotte Mason podcast. I'm Sonia Schaefer. In our new curriculum, A Pageant of History, the study of the Middle Ages covers roughly AD 500 to 1550. And that study is conducted through reading living books that make that time period come alive, and then narrating or telling back what was read. In the elementary years, the teacher reads those good living books aloud, and the students narrate by speaking. But as your students become fluent and comfortable reading for themselves, they take on the responsibility to read some of their school books independently and to write some of their narrations. We keep a family component going, with certain books being enjoyed all together, and you can see that list if you check the link in the description. But your middle school students will also have books to read on their own, and those are the books that I want to share with you today. Each of these wonderful books is scheduled in the Middle School Student Narration Guidebook for the Middle Ages course. That guidebook gives your students the reading assignments, an introduction to each book, custom narration prompts and keyword lists for all of the nonfiction titles, as well as space to write their narrations, so everything is clear and collected in one place. You can find out more about the student narration guidebooks, as well as all of the books that I will be reviewing, by using the links in the description. Now let's jump into the stars of the show, the living books. The first book is The White Stag by Kate Sarity. We start out with a fascinating book that will help your students consider this idea, that history can be told from different points of view. What is a tragedy for one group of people might be a triumph for another group. Now that's an important concept to wrap your brain around as you read history. The White Stag tells the story of Attila the Hun from the Huns' point of view. It does include their battles, but those events are downplayed in favor of giving the bigger picture of how Attila came to be their leader and how he led his people and what he was like in their eyes. It's hard to describe the style. The closest I can come is that it reads almost like a fairy tale. You'll have to read it to see what I mean. It's relatively short, but it provides a lot of good food for thought and discussion, and be sure to discuss it with your students, especially the parts that include the Huns' religious beliefs. Middle school students need to have practice verbalizing their beliefs and comparing and contrasting them to other beliefs that they will encounter in this world. They also need to understand that any retelling of an event is going to be biased in one direction or another, and that it's important to hear both sides of a story, whether in history or in current events. So take advantage of the ideas that The White Stag will introduce and invite those discussions. The Vikings by Elizabeth Janeway. This title is from the Landmark series. The Landmark books are popular nonfiction titles written for middle school level readers. Each one is written by an expert in his or her field who's also an excellent writer. Landmarks are living books that cover significant events and people in both American history and in world history. Many of them are out of print now, but a few are still being published, and The Vikings is one that is still available. Here's a great description from the front of the book. There was land beyond the western seas. Of that, Leif Erikson was sure. His friend Bjarni had seen it, with its rich green forests extending to sandy shores. To put his feet down on that distant land, which today we call North America, became Erikson's dream. for he was a child of the sea-roving Vikings. You'll read a gripping account of high adventure, duels, and battles, and get to know the daring Scandinavians who discovered Greenland and North America 500 years before Columbus. It's a great book. Now, some of you have wondered whether church history is still included in our new curriculum. The answer is yes, absolutely. Your middle school students will read a 5-book series on church history, spread over the 4 years of A Pageant of History. These books offer living narratives of key moments in the lives of men and women who have made a difference in the history of the church. 2 of the books are included in the Middle Ages study: Reign, the Church in the Middle Ages, and Reform, the Church at the Birth of Protestantism. Both are written by Luke H. Davis. Your students will meet Benedict, Gregory the Great, Theodulf, Peter Waldo, Francis of Assisi, Thomas Aquinas, Martin Luther, John Huss, Marguerite de Navarre, John Calvin, Catherine Parr, Lady Jane Grey, John Knox, and more. Each living narrative also includes a sketch of the person, drawn by the author, as well as a little summary of that person's impact on the church in the broader scope of history. And hand-drawn maps are included in the back, so your students can locate the places that are mentioned in each story. If you want church history to be about the people who loved and served God through the years, this series is a gem. The Magna Carta by James Darty. James Darty is another favorite author who had a passion for the people and events about which he wrote. Let me just read to you what's on the back cover. In the rich turbulence of English history, one day stands magnificently apart. June 15th, 1215, the day of the signing of the Magna Carta. On this day, the first blow for English freedom was struck and has forever affected the Western world. Here is the story of 3 true men, Stephen Langton, William Marshall, and Herbert de Burgh, whose heroic deeds are set against those of the ever-deceitful and crafty King John. The wicked deeds of this king gave rise to the illustrious Robin Hood and his merry men in Lincoln Green, who roamed Sherwood Forest, robbing the rich and giving to the poor. King Richard the Lionheart, Queen Eleanor of Aquitaine, Peter of Wakefield, and King Philip all play their part in this saga of adventure and intrigue, which culminates at Runnymede on a summer day in 1215. This is a wonderful narrative about all of the parts and pieces that came together in this historic document, the Magna Carta, or Great Charter. A document that limited the power of government over the rights of the individual. It laid the foundation for freedom as we know it, and James Darty brings that story into vivid detail in this retelling. Adam of the Road by Elizabeth Janet Gray. Adam of the Road is a historical fiction that takes place in the 1200s. Adam, whose father is a minstrel, has always been told that the road is a minstrel's home, even though he may happen to be sleeping in a castle. And Adam discovers that truth when his father disappears and his beloved dog Nick is stolen. Adam soon finds himself traveling alone along those roads, searching the fairs and the market towns, looking for his father and his dog. Through his many adventures, your students will get to know several medieval institutions, customs, and occupations, such as training for the knighthood, nobility and peasants, poachers, sheriffs, peddlers, plowmen, boys' schools, shrines, religious plays, alehouses, and more. This is one of my absolute favorite books for the Middle Ages, and with enough plot twists to keep everyone engrossed. It's sure to be a highlight of your study. Next, we have The Prince and the Pauper by Mark Twain, or Samuel Clemens. This classic Mark Twain novel weaves a fictional story around 2 boys who were born on the same day in the same year, one a prince and one a pauper. Through an interesting turn of events, they end up switching places for several weeks. And both boys learn a lot about life during the 1500s, among the royalty and among the lower class. And so will your students. With many twists and turns in this plot, the story keeps you on edge, wondering and anxiously waiting to see how things will turn out. Now keep in mind that though Mark Twain was known for his dry humor, this book is not all fun and games. It also portrays some of the harsher realities and violence that occurred in the streets of London during that time in history. So be available to discuss the story with your students. The Bible Smuggler by Louise Vernon is the story of William Tyndale, who believed that the common people of England during the 16th century should be able to read the Bible for themselves. Church and government officials disagreed, and Tyndale had to flee to Europe for his life. But amid that danger, he arranged to have Bibles translated, printed, and smuggled back into England. This historical fiction book brings that chapter of church history to life. And this book is scheduled for both elementary and middle school students to enjoy. Last, we have Children of the Longhouse by Joseph Bruchac. I've read several Joseph Bruchac titles over the past few years, and one that I especially enjoyed we have tucked into the Middle Ages study. Bruchac is a scholar of Native American culture and an excellent writer. Children of the Longhouse offers your students a peek into Native American life during the late 1400s. The story is about an 11-year-old boy, Okwari, and his twin sister, who overhear a group of older boys in their village making plans for an unauthorized raid on a neighboring village. He lets the elders know, and they affirm that he's done the right thing, but those older boys now consider him their enemy. Okwari believes in the path of peace, but the gang, led by a boy named Grobber, will do anything they can to hurt Okwari, especially during the big village-wide game of brutal lacrosse that is coming up. Can Okwari's peaceful ways triumph over Grobber's wrath? As you can see, your students will be learning a lot about the Middle Ages through these wonderful books that make the time period come alive. Check the links to learn more about the student narration guidebooks that will walk them through this great lineup, as well as links to some bonus books that your students can enjoy if they want more. Next time, we'll turn the spotlight on the books for high school students. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.